Hello friends, and welcome into another edition of our weekly update video. This is the week ending July the 17th. There's a lot to get to, as we often say. I'm joined by John, Jerry, I'm Mitch, and let's jump right into this week's happenings. Actually something that's been happening for several weeks, but as we've done more research and gotten expert opinions from people across the country, the hemp-derived consumables bill, or a bill to regulate those, it's actually a conference report. The Senate 2 weeks ago, as you've been hearing on our videos, the Senate 2 weeks ago adopted that conference report, and now we're awaiting the House's adoption of the conference report. As we've investigated, as we've dove deeper into the bill, we've learned some things about it. It's a fairly complex bill. John, tell us what we need to know about this bill and what it would do for everyday North Carolinians across the state.
Yeah, well, first, Mitch, thank you. Let's take a little step back. The General Assembly over the last several years has considered, looked at a number of different bills to regulate, to outlaw, to legalize hemp-derived consumable products, which are a whole host of
stuff I can't spell.
Right. Well, you can spell THC.
That's it.
And that's the hallucinogenic property that's from the cannabis plant or in that family. And there has been lots of confusion about this bill. And as you said, we consulted with a number of experts and have gotten some very good and very helpful feedback. And that has led us to understand that this bill is actually would be a huge step forward for North Carolina. And friends, if you will excuse me, I'm going to read through a list of things that this bill would do, because I think it's important to understand it, not in extreme levels of depth, but just to understand how this bill is structured, what it would do, and how, in fact, it would significantly limit these products in North Carolina. So first of all, the bill would adopt a more restrictive federal standard for hemp-derived products. In the way the bill is written, North Carolina law would conform to a more stringent federal standard that is set to go into effect in November of this year. And it does not adopt this new federal standard by reference, but it actually puts the language of that new federal standard in statute. That's important because if the federal standard changes, our standard would remain the same. And for example, if the federal standard at some point in the future is removed altogether, if it is weakened, then our law would remain the same. And that's very important. It would expand the definition of hemp to include not only Delta-9 THC, which is really, I guess, the most common of these compounds or derivatives, but it would also include others like Delta-7, Delta-8, Delta-10, and THCA. It would define prohibited finished hemp-derived consumable products in statute as a Schedule 6 controlled substance. So it would essentially classify those products the same as marijuana, which is illegal to possess and to use in North Carolina. So it would set a very similar standard as marijuana is now. It would enact an age limit of 21 or older to purchase any remaining legal hemp-derived consumable products, and these are the non-hallucinogenic products that would be on the market. And it would allow only individuals who are over 21 to purchase those products. So anybody under 21 it would be illegal for them to purchase or to possess, and it would be also illegal for the sale of those products to anyone under 21. It would enact an age limit of 21 years to purchase non-synthetic kratom products, and it would prohibit entirely synthetic kratom products on the market and get rid of those. It would add xylazine, which is a veterinary tranquilizer, to the list of Schedule 3 controlled substances, essentially getting that off the market, and we've heard reports of people being harmed using that. And it would also add a host of other substances to the list of Schedule 1 controlled substances. Talking about not able to pronounce a lot of these things.
Wild.
But these compounds are out there. and it would clarify that those are illegal as well. So lots of changes that this bill would enact if it were adopted by the House and ultimately became law. And we are convinced that this bill is very important. It's very necessary. In comparison, the way the law stands now, there essentially is no law.
Right.
And so there are no restrictions, no age restrictions, and so these products are on the market and can be purchased by anybody, and that's a huge, huge concern.
Speaking of, Jerry, we've talked about this at length. You've actually visited one of these stores in the past. As on my drive home many days, there is one of these stores across the street from an elementary school. And the original intent of this bill, as it was originally drafted, actually had a lot of that language in there. Jerry, as John said, and some of others have said, it's the Wild West out there right now, and it's wide open. We heard senators 2 weeks ago talk about this. This is impactful.
It is. And it's been an issue, and I know, like John, you stepping back. One other part of the big picture that's been going on, this is in recent years that the hemp issue has gotten more and more attention. Further back, marijuana. So we've been working on, and then they're related issues. And as you say, all this is very complex, but because of our long history in working with these issues, we had experts we could go to. Because you read this bill, it's got a lot of technical language in it. If you're not an expert in it, you can kind of go, what is this doing? What is this not doing? Well, again, the big picture is all the intoxicating hemp products that are currently out there. Most people don't even know what's in these products, and there are literally thousands of these stores
where they're coming from,
across
what's
North
in
Carolina.
them. Yeah.
And so this is a great move to remove those products, and then whatever, apparently it's going to be over 95% of the products in a lot of these businesses will be gone. And then what's left, non-intoxicating, only 21 and over can access. So this is going to be a huge move in our state law. The other part that a lot of people are concerned about is this opening some kind of door for marijuana because they're competing products and there's been a big push for marijuana. This again was the benefit of experts who understand and are opposed to legalization of marijuana said, we have studied this bill thoroughly, and no, there is not an opening for marijuana legalization. So this bill will accomplish a lot of great things and not open the door for potential bad things.
Yeah, let me add to that, Jerry, just to be very clear. Our strong preference would be that these products are just banned altogether for everyone, because if they're harmful for people under 21, they're harmful for people 21 and over. So that is our position, is that we would prefer that all of these products just be banned altogether. Unfortunately, that's not the proposal that's before the legislature, and so this is a huge, huge step in the right direction.
Yep.
And we are advocating strongly that the House adopt the conference report, as the Senate has, that they get this bill to the governor, and hopefully the governor will sign the bill into law.
Well, over the next couple of weeks, as they come back in for a couple different items, hopefully the House will take this up, adopt the conference report, and this will protect a lot of people here in the state of North Carolina. Let's move on to something that we were a part of over the last couple of weeks. It was filed earlier this week, an amicus brief on video poker machines. That's been filed. Tell us what we need to know, gentlemen, about this.
Well, as we know, we actually worked way back in 2006 to negotiate the phase-out of video poker in North Carolina to make that illegal. Of course, the industry continues to try to circumvent the law, this video sweepstakes, and you see sweepstakes parlors all around the state. In some counties, in some areas, law enforcement will crack down, seize the machines. In other areas, law enforcement is just not enforcing the laws, unfortunately. And so we have a proliferation of these video sweepstakes parlors around the state, despite the fact that the legislature continues to work to ban these machines. And every time the legislature passes a new law, the industry changes the machines or adds a different element to the operation of the machines to try to argue that they're legal and can continue. And this is what happened in this particular case. No Limit Games is the company that has sued to try to get the courts to say that this operation is legal, and the courts consistently, this North Carolina Court of Appeals and the North Carolina Supreme Court have consistently in the past determined that these machines and the operation of these machines rely more on chance than they do on skill. Therefore, they are illegal gambling machines in North Carolina. So this is yet another case that is going before the Supreme Court, and we've had the opportunity, Mitch, as you said, to file an amicus brief or a friend of the court brief to the Supreme Court on this case, helping to describe the complexity of the issue, but the importance that the Supreme Court maintain a consistent position that these machines and the operation of these machines are illegal in North Carolina.
This is almost baffling. I think this will be the fourth time the North Carolina Supreme Court has heard a case related to video sweepstakes. And you're thinking, they don't hear a lot of cases. It's very narrow areas that they step into. This obviously, the gambling industry obviously has a lot of resources. It's a long process, very expensive, but they're so intent on, in their perspective, is developing a product that can be defined outside of the law, that it can be made looked at as legal. And every time the court has been unanimous in saying, no, this is a video gambling machine. Changes have been made, but this is what our law says. We're applying what the law is, the intent of the law. And I know that at the end of the brief that we were part of, this friend of the court brief, which is something that is submitted to the court. They're not required to read it, but it's hopefully information that helps them make their decision. They get the arguments from the parties who are involved in the case, but then this is an opportunity for us to share from over 30 years of working on the gambling issue, and specifically working on this one, like you say, John, all the way back to when the video poker was outlawed. That's when the industry said, okay, we'll develop another thing that looks different. And the court has consistently, and this says, the court should apply the law in light of its text, history, precedent, and intent, all of which show that these digital sweepstakes are illegal gambling machines. Again, it's a shame that with it, I guess it's a good part that our legal system allows people to continue to approach the court, say, okay, we want to make this legal, but hopefully once again the court will look at it and say no.
Well, and I think one thing that's interesting about this is that in the bigger picture of gambling and the actions of the General Assembly over recent years, they have authorized additional forms of gambling, sports gambling. We've got tribal casinos. In the budget bill this year, they legalized essentially predictive market gambling, those types of things. But the General Assembly has consistently worked to prohibit, to ban video gambling machines because they're so addictive and they're so pervasive, and they have such a negative impact on individuals, families, and communities around the state. And so the General Assembly has been very consistent in their position on these machines, and we're very hopeful that the Supreme Court, Jerry, as you said, will remain consistent in their action and provide a favorable opinion in this case.
Well, there's no doubt that these systems, these video lottery, video poker, all of these things, they're meant to addict people. People become addicted to them, and they're not good for families. And we will continue to fight for what's good for families. This amicus brief is yet another example of our team surrounding families across the state of North Carolina and speaking to the court on behalf of your family and saying that this stuff has to stop. It's got to go away because it's terrible for families and it's preying upon victims who are just bent toward this type of behavior. Yep. So we'll keep you up to date on how this progresses through the court and what you need to know about it moving forward. So one last thing today, as many of you have heard, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, where I come from, passed away this past week. And so we just want to echo what you've heard across many of the media platforms and places across the country. And our thoughts and prayers are certainly with the Graham family, his sister, who is now sitting in his seat and actually going to be voting on things in the next few days as a result of his just untimely passing at 71 years old. I had several encounters with him. I tell you one thing is for sure is he loved South Carolina and he loved America and he was willing to fight for our country. I saw an article yesterday that said you can tell a lot about a guy based on who his enemies are, and most of his enemies were foreign and not domestic. So he certainly loved America, and I'll tell you, he had a quick wit, a pretty dry sense of humor a lot of times. So he's certainly going to be missed across the state of South Carolina. I've had many friends that talked to over the last week about his passing. I think he's going to be missed in the United States Senate as well for years to come. I joked years ago and said there will be a building with his name on it at some point, and that may come sooner rather than later. So our thoughts, prayers, not in any cliche way, are with the Graham family in the passing of beloved Senator Lindsey Graham. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time this week. Thank you for watching this week's weekly update video. On behalf of these guys, me, Mitch, our entire team, including Anna Scott right behind the camera, God bless you, and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.